My girlfriend posted, "Finally found my person." Under a picture of her and another guy, arms around each other, way too close to be just friends. When I asked her about it, she laughed, called me insecure, and went online to paint me as controlling. So I stayed quiet until I dropped the screenshots, the late-night messages, the hotel receipts, even the just one last time texts she thought I'd never see. Suddenly, I wasn't the villain anymore. The notification pinged on my phone, a double tap from Sarah. I smiled. It was probably another picture of Mr. Snuggles, her ridiculously fluffy Persian cat, sprawled across the sofa like a furry, white starfish, or maybe a meme she knew I'd find funny. Sarah had this knack for knowing exactly what would make me smile, even on my worst days. I unlocked my phone, and my smile faltered. It wasn't Mr. Snuggles, it was a picture of Sarah and another guy. They were standing close, arms wrapped around each other. Too close, not the casual, friendly hug you give an acquaintance. This was intimate. Her head was tilted up, her smile radiant, and his hand was resting a little too low on her back. The caption read, "Finally found my person." My stomach dropped. My person. That's what we called each other. A stupid, sappy, inside joke. A term of endearment reserved for those moments when we felt completely, utterly connected. Now, she was using it for him. A knot formed in my chest, tightening with each passing second. Who was this guy? I scrolled through the comments, hoping for some context, some explanation. "You guys look so cute together. So happy for you, Sarah. He's a keeper." My blood ran cold. I needed answers. I needed to know what the hell was going on. I called her. It went straight to voicemail. Panic started to set in. I texted, "Hey, saw your post. Who's the guy in the picture?" No response. Minutes stretched into an eternity. I paced my apartment, replaying the picture in my head, analyzing every detail. His smile, her touch, the way they looked at each other. It was all wrong. Finally, my phone buzzed, a text from Sarah. "Just a friend, babe. Don't worry, just a friend." The knot in my chest tightened. I typed back, "He looks like more than just a friend." Finally found my person. Seriously, another agonizing wait. Then, "You're being insecure. It's nothing. Relax." Insecure. Maybe I was overreacting, but something felt off. Terribly, irrevocably off. I tried to push it aside. I told myself I was being ridiculous. Sarah loved me. We had been together for 3 years. We had plans, a future. She wouldn't do this. But the image of them together kept flashing in my mind. A persistent, unwelcome guest. Later that evening, when she finally came home, I tried to talk to her. "Sarah, I just want to understand. Who is he?" She rolled her eyes. "God, you're being so dramatic. It's just a friend from work. We went out for drinks after a project win." "Drinks with his arm around you like that." He was being friendly. "You're making a big deal out of nothing." She sighed dramatically. "Honestly, you're acting so controlling right now. I can't believe you're questioning me like this." Controlling. That stung. I wasn't controlling. I was just hurt, confused, scared, but I didn't say anything. I knew how Sarah could be. If I pushed too hard, she'd get defensive, and we'd end up in a screaming match. So, I swallowed my feelings and tried to believe her. I tried to convince myself that I was overreacting, but the seed of doubt had been planted. The next few weeks were hell. I tried to act normal, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Sarah was distant, preoccupied. She spent more time on her phone, texting and smiling too. Herself, when I asked her about it, she'd brush it off, saying it was work-related. I wanted to trust her. I really did. But the picture kept haunting me, and the more I thought about it, the more I noticed little things. Subtle changes in her behavior, the way she avoided my gaze, the way she flinched when I touched her. One night, while Sarah was in the shower, I couldn't resist. I knew it was wrong. I knew I shouldn't do it, but I had to know the truth. I picked up her phone. It was locked, of course. But I knew her password. Her birthday. I typed it in. And the screen unlocked. My heart pounded in my chest. I navigated to her messages and scrolled through her recent conversations. There it was. His name, Mark. My hands trembled as I opened the chat. What I saw next made my blood run cold. Paragraph after paragraph of flirtatious messages. Late-night conversations filled with innuendo and suggestive remarks. Plans for secret rendezvous. My world started to spin. I scrolled further, each message, a fresh stab wound to my heart. "I can't stop thinking about you. I wish I could be with you right now. You make me feel things I've never felt before." And then, the messages that confirmed my worst fears. "Last night was amazing. I'll never forget it. I can't wait to see you again. I know it's wrong, but I can't help myself." I felt sick, betrayed, devastated. I scrolled back to the beginning of the chat, desperate to find some explanation, some justification, but there was nothing. Just a long sordid tale of lies and deceit. I copied the entire conversation. Every message, every picture, every detail. I needed proof. I needed to show her what she had done. Then, I looked through her photos. There were dozens of pictures of them together. at restaurants, at bars, at his apartment, in his car, everywhere. I even found hotel receipts, dates, times, locations, all meticulously documented. I felt like I was going to be sick. I copied everything. Every photo, every receipt, every scrap of evidence. I wanted to make sure she couldn't deny it. Sarah came out of the shower, humming a tune. She stopped when she saw me standing there, her phone in my hand, my face pale with shock and anger. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice tight. I didn't say anything. I just held up the phone, the chat with Mark displayed on the screen. Her face drained of color. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. "Who is he?" "Sarah," I finally managed to say, my voice trembling. She looked at me, her eyes wide with fear. "It's not what you think," she stammered. "Oh, really? Because it looks pretty clear to me. You've been sleeping with him, haven't you?" She started to cry. "Please, listen to me. It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. A mistake. Hotel receipts are a mistake. Late-night messages are a mistake. Telling him you finally found your person is a mistake." I was confused. I was going through a hard time. I didn't know what I wanted. "So, you decided to cheat on me. That's your solution to a hard time." She sank to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. "I'm so sorry," she cried. "I never meant to hurt you. But you did hurt me, Sarah. You broke my heart. You destroyed everything we had." I turned and walked out of the apartment, leaving her there, alone with her lies and her regrets. I spent the next few days in a daze. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't think straight. I replayed the events of the past few weeks in my head, trying to make sense of it all. How could she do this to me? How could she betray me so completely? I thought about all the plans we had made, the future we had envisioned together. It was all gone now, shattered into a million pieces. I told a few of my close friends what had happened. They were supportive, but their words of comfort felt hollow. Nothing could ease the pain. Sarah tried to contact me, but I ignored her calls and texts. I couldn't bear to talk to her. I couldn't forgive her. Then, one day, she posted something online, a long rambling post about how I was controlling and insecure, how I had invaded her privacy and violated her trust, how I was trying to ruin her life. I couldn't believe it. She was trying to paint me as the villain. After everything she had done, she was trying to make me look like the bad guy. That's when I snapped. I had been trying to stay quiet, to protect her reputation. But I couldn't let her get away with this. I couldn't let her twist the truth and make me look like the monster. So, I posted the screenshots, the late-night messages, the hotel receipts, the pictures of them together, the just one last time text she thought I'd never see. I laid it all out there, for everyone to see. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Her friends turned on her. Her family was disgusted. Her colleagues were shocked. Suddenly, I wasn't the villain anymore. I watched as her world crumbled around her. Her lies were exposed. Her reputation was ruined. Her life was in tatters. And I felt nothing, no satisfaction, no vindication, no joy, just emptiness. The pain was still there, a dull ache in my chest. The betrayal was still raw, a gaping wound in my heart. I had exposed her lies, but it hadn't made me feel any better. It hadn't healed my wounds. It hadn't brought me any closer to closure. It had just left me feeling empty and alone. The aftermath was a blur. Sarah lost her job. Her friends abandoned her. Her family disowned her. She became a pariah, ostracized and ridiculed. I tried to avoid her, but it was impossible. We lived in the same city, moved in the same social circles. I kept running into her, at parties, at restaurants, at the grocery store. Each encounter was excruciating. She would try to talk to me, to apologize, to explain, but I couldn't bear to listen. I would just turn and walk away, leaving her standing there, alone and miserable. Eventually, she moved away. I heard she went to live with her sister in another state. I don't know what she's doing now. I don't care. I tried to move on with my life, but it was hard. The experience had changed me. I was more cynical, more guarded, more distrustful. I found it difficult to form new relationships. I was afraid of getting hurt again. I was afraid of trusting someone and having them betray me. I went to therapy. It helped, but it didn't erase the pain. It didn't make me forget what had happened. I started focusing on my career. I worked long hours, throwing myself into my work. It was a distraction, a way to avoid thinking about Sarah and the past. I achieved a lot of success in my career. I got promotions, raises, accolades. But none of it filled the void inside me. I realized that success wasn't enough. I needed something more. I needed love. I needed connection. I needed to find a way to trust again. It took a long time, but eventually, I started to heal. I started to let go of the anger and resentment. I started to forgive Sarah, not for her sake, but for my own. I realized that holding on to the pain was only hurting me. It was preventing me from moving on with my life. I started to open myself up to new experiences. I traveled, I took classes, I tried new hobbies, I met new people. Some of them were interesting, some of them were not, but I learned something from each of them. And then, one day, I met someone special. Her name was Emily. She was kind, compassionate, and funny. She was intelligent and driven. She was beautiful, inside and out. I was drawn to her immediately. But I was also scared. I was afraid of getting hurt again. I was afraid of ruining things. I told her about my past. I told her about Sarah and the betrayal. I told her about my fears and insecurities. She listened patiently, without judgment. She understood what I had been through. She reassured me that she would never hurt me. I started to trust her. Slowly, cautiously, I started to let her into my life. We started dating. We went on adventures. We laughed together. We cried together. We supported each other through good times and bad. I fell in love with her, and she fell in love with me. For the first time in a long time, I felt happy. I felt whole. I felt like I had finally found my person. I knew that the past would always be a part of me. I would never forget what had happened with Sarah, but I wouldn't let it define me. I had learned from my mistakes. I had grown from my experiences. I had emerged from the darkness stronger and wiser. I was ready to embrace the future, with Emily by my side. We got married. We bought a house. We started a family. We built a life together, filled with love, laughter, and happiness. And every now and then, when I looked at Emily and our children, I would think about Sarah. I would wonder what she was doing, how she was feeling. I would hope that she had found peace. I would hope that she had learned from her mistakes. I would hope that she had found her own happiness. Because in the end, that's all that really matters. Finding your own happiness and letting go of the past. The years passed. My children grew up, they went to college, got married, and started their own families. Emily and I grew old together. We traveled the world, pursued our passions, and enjoyed each other's company. We celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary. We were surrounded by our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. I looked at Emily, her face etched with wrinkles, her eyes sparkling with love. I knew that I had made the right choice. I had found my person, and I had never let her go. As I lay on my deathbed, surrounded by my loved ones, I thought about my life. I had experienced pain, betrayal, and loss. But I had also experienced love, joy, and happiness. I had made mistakes, but I had learned from them. I had grown as a person. I had lived a full and meaningful life. And as I closed my eyes for the last time, I felt a sense of peace. I had found my person. And that was all that mattered. I hope this story fulfills your request. It explores the themes of betrayal, heartbreak, and ultimately, healing and finding love again. It's quite a journey. Now the second very interesting Reddit story. My fiancée SX messaged her, "Can't wait until you're free of him." By midnight, our wedding was canceled. But when I dug into her emails, I uncovered something far darker than infidelity, a betrayal that ended more than just our engagement. Sarah and I had been together for 3 years. 3 years of Sunday morning pancakes, late-night movie marathons, and building a life that, in my naive heart, I believed was solid. We'd weathered storms, a family tragedy on her side, a career setback for me, and emerged stronger, or so I thought. Then came the picture. It was a sunny afternoon when I saw it, scrolling through Instagram, mindlessly liking photos of puppies and travel destinations. The message glowed on my fiancée Sarah's phone, an unwelcome intrusion of pale blue light. In the otherwise dim sanctuary of our living room, we were supposed to be finalizing seating arrangements, agonizing over flower choices, and drowning in a sea of RSVP cards. Instead, the air crackled with a tension thick enough to choke on. "Can't wait until you're free of him." The words, stark and undeniably suggestive, hung between us like a loaded weapon. Sarah stared at the screen, her face draining of color. I reached for the phone, my hand trembling slightly, and recognized the sender immediately. Mark, her ex. The one she swore was ancient history. The one I'd tried so hard to not be threatened by. My voice, when I finally managed to speak, was a strained whisper. What is this?" Sarah's eyes flickered to mine, filled with a desperate plea for understanding. It's nothing, David, he's just being Mark, I repeated, the disbelief evident in my tone. "What does that even mean?" "He's saying he's waiting for you to leave me. Sarah, we're getting married in 2 weeks." The argument escalated quickly, fueled by years of unspoken anxieties and simmering insecurities. I accused, she defended. Tears were shed. Promises were questioned. By midnight, the carefully constructed facade of our perfect life together had crumbled into dust. The wedding was canceled. In the aftermath, a hollow ache settled in my chest. The vibrant joy that had filled my days had been replaced by a gnawing emptiness. I moved through the motions of daily life like a ghost, haunted by the ghost of what could have been. But amidst the despair, a seed of suspicion began to sprout. Something didn't feel right. Sarah's reaction to the message, the way she'd avoided my gaze, the almost rehearsed quality of her explanations. It all pointed to something more than just an awkward encounter with a former flame. Driven by a desperate need for answers, I started digging. I knew it was a violation of her privacy, a betrayal of the trust that had once existed between us. but the thought of walking away without knowing the truth was unbearable. I started with her phone, not the message history that was suspiciously clean. Instead, I focused on her email. It was a long shot, I knew, but I had to try. It took days of painstakingly sifting through mountains of junk mail, promotional offers, and mundane correspondence. Just as I was about to give up, convinced that my suspicions were unfounded, I found it. A single email, buried deep in her sent folder, with a subject line that made my blood run cold. Project Nightingale. The email was addressed to a name I didn't recognize, Alistair Thorne. The content was cryptic, filled with coded language and veiled references to financial transactions. But one phrase, repeated throughout the message, stood out with chilling clarity. Acquisition complete. My heart pounded in my chest. Acquisition of what? And what did this Alistair Thorne have to do with Sarah? I spent the next few days consumed by the mystery of Project Nightingale. I researched Alistair Thorne, uncovering a shadowy figure with a reputation for ruthless business dealings and a penchant for acquiring struggling companies through any means necessary. He was a corporate raider, a predator who thrived on the misfortune of others. As the first pieced together the fragments of information, a horrifying picture began to emerge. Sarah hadn't just been unfaithful, she had been involved in something far more sinister, something that threatened to destroy everything I held dear. My company, the small software firm I had poured my heart and soul into for the past 5 years, was on the verge of a breakthrough. We were developing a revolutionary new technology that had the potential to disrupt the entire industry. We were on the cusp of success, of finally achieving the dream I had worked so hard for, and Alistair Thorne wanted it. He had been trying to acquire my company for months, offering increasingly generous buyouts that I had repeatedly rejected. I knew Thorne's reputation. I knew he would strip the company bare, sell off its assets, and leave my employees jobless. I refused to let him win. Now, staring at the email in Sarah's inbox, the pieces of the puzzle clicked into place. Project Nightingale wasn't about infidelity. It was about corporate espionage. Sarah hadn't just broken my heart, she had been planted in my life, a Trojan horse sent to infiltrate my company and steal my technology. The realization hit me like a physical blow, leaving me gasping for breath. The woman I had loved, the woman I had trusted with my life, had been playing me all along. Our relationship, our engagement, our entire future together had been a carefully orchestrated lie. I felt a surge of rage, a burning desire for revenge. But I knew that acting impulsively would only play into Thorne's hands. I needed to be smart, to be strategic. I needed to expose Sarah and Thorne's plot without jeopardizing my company. I started by gathering evidence. I meticulously documented every email, every text message, every suspicious interaction I could find. I contacted a lawyer, a sharp and experienced litigator who specialized in corporate espionage cases. She listened to my story with a grim nod, her eyes hardening with determination. "We can build a case," she said, "but we need to be careful. Thorne is a powerful man with deep pockets. He won't hesitate to use every trick in the book to protect himself." We decided to play the long game. We wouldn't confront Sarah or Thorne directly. Instead, we would gather enough evidence to present to the authorities, ensuring that they couldn't wriggle their way out of the consequences. It was a nerve-wracking waiting game. Every day, I had to pretend that nothing was wrong, to act as if I still trusted Sarah, even as I secretly recorded her conversations and tracked her movements. It was emotionally draining, but I knew it was necessary. As I delved deeper into Sarah's involvement, I discovered a web of deceit that extended far beyond my company. She had been involved in similar schemes before, targeting other businesses and individuals for Thorne's benefit. She was a professional con artist, a master manipulator who could charm her way into anyone's life. The thought of how easily I had fallen for her lies filled me with shame and disgust. I had been so blinded by love, so eager to believe in the fairy tale we had created, that I had ignored all the warning signs. But I couldn't afford to dwell on my mistakes. I had to focus on the task at hand, exposing Sarah and Thorne and protecting my company. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. While reviewing Sarah's financial records, my lawyer discovered a series of offshore accounts linked to Thorne. The accounts were used to funnel money to Sarah, disguised as consulting fees. This was the smoking gun we needed, the irrefutable proof of their conspiracy. We presented the evidence to the authorities, who immediately launched an investigation. Thorne's empire began to crumble. His reputation was tarnished, his business deals fell apart, and his carefully constructed world of power and influence began to unravel. Sarah was arrested and charged with corporate espionage, fraud, and conspiracy. Facing the prospect of a long prison sentence, she finally broke down and confessed everything. She admitted to being Thorne's accomplice, to using her relationship with me to gain access to my company's confidential information. The trial was a media circus. The sordid details of Sarah and Thorne's plot were splashed across the headlines, captivating the nation. I testified against them, recounting the story of their betrayal with a mixture of anger and sadness. In the end, justice prevailed. Thorne was found guilty of multiple charges and sentenced to a lengthy prison term. Sarah received a lighter sentence, but her reputation was ruined, her life in tatters. As I watched them being led away in handcuffs, I felt a sense of closure, but also a profound sense of loss. The experience had left me scarred, cynical, and wary of trusting anyone, but I had also learned a valuable lesson. I had learned that even the most carefully constructed lies can be exposed, that even the most powerful enemies can be defeated, and that even in the darkest of times, hope can still prevail. In the aftermath of the trial, I focused on rebuilding my company and my life. It wasn't easy. The betrayal had taken a toll, both financially and emotionally. But I was determined to move forward, to create a future free from the shadows of the past. I surrounded myself with people I trusted, loyal friends and colleagues who had stood by me during the ordeal. I poured my energy into my work, channeling my anger and frustration into creating something positive. Slowly but surely, my company began to recover. We launched our new technology, and it was a resounding success. We attracted new investors, expanded our operations, and created new jobs. I also started to open myself up to the possibility of love again. It was scary, putting myself out there after what had happened with Sarah, but I knew that I couldn't let her define my future. I met someone new, a kind and compassionate woman, named Emily. She was everything Sarah wasn't: honest, genuine, and deeply caring. She understood my past, my fears, and my vulnerabilities. She didn't try to fix me or change me. She simply loved me for who I was. With Emily by my side, I began to heal. I learned to trust again, to open my heart to the possibility of happiness. I realized that Sarah's betrayal, while devastating, had ultimately made me stronger. It had taught me to be more discerning, more resilient, and more appreciative of the true meaning of love. Years later, I received a letter from Sarah. She was writing from prison, expressing her remorse for what she had done. She acknowledged the pain she had caused me and apologized for betraying my trust. I didn't respond to the letter. I didn't feel any animosity towards her anymore. I had forgiven her, not for her sake, but for my own. I needed to let go of the anger and resentment in order to move on with my life. I had learned that forgiveness is not about condoning the actions of others. It's about freeing yourself from the burden of bitterness and resentment. It's about choosing to heal and to move forward. As I looked back on the events that had transpired, I realized that Project Nightingale had been a turning point in my life. It had been a trial by fire, a crucible that had forged me into a stronger, more resilient person. I had lost a fiancé, a company, and my faith in humanity. But I had also gained something invaluable: a deeper understanding of myself, a greater appreciation for the importance of trust, and a renewed commitment to living a life of honesty and integrity. And in the end, that was all that mattered.